Welcome, everyone. This is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. And as you can tell, there's kind of a new arrangement in slides for how you show the captions. And so now you can do that, as opposed to that kind of big thing that often got in the way before. So there you are. So turn on the captions, done. And we want to thank you for being part of this today. We love sharing cool things with you guys and are excited about great questions that have come in as well. And I hope that you will walk away with answers to some question that might have been vexing you. So thanks to all the good folks at the Krause Center for Innovation at Foothill College in Los Altos Hills, California, and all of the good work they do with the Merit Program and the upcoming new ELLI program, Emerging Leaders in Learning Innovation. So that is a program for people who have completed Merit. So if you're like, what's Merit? Get in touch. These are fantastic programs. And then there's this wonderful kind of arrangement right here. Tell us about it if you would, Richard.
This is freetechforteachers.com, my little website that I started 14 years ago, and almost 16,000 blog posts later, I'm still going, writing all kinds of hopefully useful pieces of information for K-12 educators all over the world.
Excellent. And thank you for doing the good work you do. My little nonprofit effort to save the world from the universe. To save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time, is nextvista.org. It's a library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere. Hope you will give it a look. We have videos about communities and academic topics and service to others and learning the English language and advice for teens and careers and all sorts of stuff. So feel free to give that a look. We have contests as well. And if you're like, I don't know, my kids, it'd be hard to do a contest thing this semester because of pandemic. Hint, everybody's thinking that. Your competition is thinned out. This is a great time to get involved. Just give it a look. All right. And with that, you should also know that the final episode of Activities Across Grade Levels is happening this afternoon or whatever time of day it is in your part of the world. And we would love to have you join us. So that good piece of fun that Susan Stewart and I have done for 35 episodes, today will be 36, perfect square. We're gonna put that on ice. So feel free to join in if you have time to do so. And a new segment for two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. So you know, this is March 18th. So you know, today is National Biodiesel Day. If you are into biodiesels, today's the day. This is also National Awkward Moments Day. Not that that ever happens on this webinar, ever.
Every time.
Something like right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Right? And it's, of course, Goddess of Fertility Day. And if you haven't been celebrating that, there you go. So, there you are. All right, so how's this going to work today? What we're going to do is answer questions and share cool stuff, because that's what we do. And we certainly enjoy it. And at least a few of you guys have as well. Some of y'all keep coming back. Love it. All right, so let's get started into the questions. Get us going, Richard. What is our first question for this week?
All right, so this first question came from Kristen, who actually asked this question in advance of a free webinar that I did on Monday about Creative Commons and copyright. Her question was, I want to create a read, watch, listen activity, which gives students a choice on how they want to learn. The problem is the listen portion. I love using podcasts, but there aren't a ton out there for students with specific topics, like the life cycle. So if I was to find an article online and record myself reading it, how would that work as far as uploading it to a slides or seesaw activity and sharing it? Do I have rights to do so? I know you're not a lawyer, but you are somewhat of an expert, so I thought I'd ask. So, Kristen and anyone else who's ever had this idea, my take on this is that what you're describing is not really any different than using something like Microsoft's Immersive Reader or any other text-to-speech application that's going to take an article and read it and so that your students can access it. So I think if you were to take the article and read it verbatim and save a little MP3 file, and then upload it into your Seesaw or your Slides activity, I think you'd be totally fine doing that and making a fair use argument for that. The one exception I would worry about, and in a K-12 school, probably not ever going to come up, but if you're a college level instructor or professor, I should say, who has access to a paywalled journal, let's say, one of those really expensive paywall journals that charge like $900 a year to access their stuff, like LexisNexis databases, stuff like that. And then you read that article aloud so that your students don't have to subscribe to that service. You might have a little trickier time with that, but I think with that might be the only exception to that. What do you think, Rushton?
So I will start this answer by saying I am not a lawyer. I have had one law class. It was part of a business minor I pursued in college. Not that I completed it because I needed to take advanced ballroom dance, and I wasn't about to miss that, of course, right? I'm telling the truth in all of this, right? So at any rate, the business law class was great. It was taught by a guy who looked a lot like Orville Redenbacher. Those of you who remember commercials from back in the day for popcorn, looked a lot like him, but a much deeper voice. And apparently he had a collection of electric guitars. Now, not that that has anything to do with this. So fair use provisions are the cover that helps you with this. You can use copyrighted content for fair use purposes, right? As long as you are not redistributing content. So for example, if what's happened is that you have taken a copyrighted work and made it available online to anyone, you are redistributing content. This is not covered by fair use provisions. And that's probably getting into the space that Richard was talking about a minute ago. And it's quite broad, right? However, if there is a password that one has to use to get into the space where you have content that you've put there that is copyrighted, now we're on far better ground. That is not to say that you can take something and make it available to your students when you are simply avoiding paying for it. Now, what I mean by that is, sometimes people will be like, hey, fair use, good, I'll take this workbook that I don't want to buy 30 versions of and put it all online. But it's behind a paywall or a password, right? No. That's redistributing content and being unfair to the publisher. You can have your own opinions about what represents fair in that regard, but I think legally you're on like the wrong ground. So that's kind of what I know about fair use provisions, and you should certainly get it checked, since I have already referenced Orville Redenbacher in my answer.
And I will say what Rushton just described of making 30 photocopies or making 30 copies of something to avoid having to pay for additional copies or additional access. That's kind of what got the Houston ISD into trouble last year, or a year and a half ago now, with the court slapping them with a $9.2 million fine for copyright violations.
Yep. So
keep that in mind. All right, let's go on to another question. On a happier note where people don't get sued. How about that, Rushton? What do you think about that?
That represents a positive. Keep going.
All right. So here's a question. I have a question that I don't know if you can have time to answer, but I'm going to pose it to you anyway. One of our teachers gave a quiz using a Google Doc and sent it through Kami. Great service. The student turned it in, and when the teacher opened it, she saw the comments box on the right. She and I are wondering if they mean the student copied and pasted answers or is totally innocent. Any ideas, says Sandy. So I will point out a couple of things. I wrote back to Sandy and I said, well, I think, and I was pretty confident of this. I hadn't done it in about a year, but I was pretty confident of this. I believe that Kami, when you, for whatever reason, the way they process a PDF, turn a doc into a PDF and a PDF back into a doc, imports and exports the comments in the margins. Right? So that was what I wrote back and said the way to test it is to take the quiz yourself. Set up a dummy student account. I always recommend having a dummy student account, not a dummy student, but a dummy student account.
Good clarification.
Yeah, so you can test these things out. That's why my dogs always have email accounts. And if you don't have a dog who has an email account, get a friend in your school, get a colleague in your school, and have them be a part of your Google Classroom as a student so you can test these things back and forth. That's what Sandy did. And sure enough, it was just something totally innocent that, yep, Cami does when it imports and exports doc to PDF and PDF to doc, that comments boxes appear and disappear. So
I would add,
just a quirk.
That that for people who are encountering this kind of thing, because there are lots of opportunities as teachers to stop and go, is this telling us that someone cheated, right? That often there's just going to be two different possibilities, right? Where yes, it's evidence of it. No, it isn't, and you certainly don't want to, accuse the kid of doing something that he or she didn't do. Ask. Just sit the kid down and say, hey, something popped up in this, and I am curious about it. And just tell me straight. I just want to understand, right? So there are some comments here. Tell me about those, right? Did you get some help? How did this work? And you might get the kind of answer that allows you to say, that's not actually appropriate, or got it, no problem. And then you can try recreating it if you want to go to the trouble, but that would be another approach with that situation. Now, Richard, tell us about this situation.
So this is a really neat Google Chrome extension. It's called Wordtune, and I actually just started using it a couple weeks ago. Apparently it's been out for like a year, and I just tried it a couple weeks ago, and I love it. So what this does is it will work in your Chrome web browser with Google Docs. It works with Gmail. It works with, it actually works on Facebook. It works on pretty much any online form. Right? And it allows you to highlight any sentence that you wrote in your document or in your email, and it will suggest alternate phrasings for the word, for that sentence. It'll make a drop-down menu of like 2 or 3 alternate phrasings for your sentence. So it's really nice, even if you've written a grammatically correct sentence, but it's kind of a chunky or choppy grammatically correct sentence, it'll still give you suggestions on how to make it flow a little bit better. Really neat tool. It offers more features than that if you pay to upgrade, but just the suggestions of better phrasing of your sentences is really neat. And I think it's cool because I found myself with my blog post writing the same style of phrase over and over again, or the same type of phrase over and over again. I'm like, I just want to do something different. What can I do? And Wordtune is actually really great for this. And someone in the chat was that Judith, who just said, tried it this week and it's incredible. Thanks. Yeah. Great tool.
And by the way, always good to have the Canadian perspective on this, Judy. Style points to you. Fist bump. All right, now, this does look cool. Seems like a very smart thing. I will simply add that 2 people come to mind. My high school buddy, Chris, now in Portland, my college buddy, Steve, now in Dallas, both of whom would look at something like this and start trying to write sentences that would generate the funniest possible alternate phrasings. And so if you have people like Chris or Steve in class, you might be prepared for that. And I would say, don't put too much of a clamp on it. It might be the funniest thing that you encounter all month. So very, very cool. Share, Richard, as always. Nicely done, sir. Take us on to the next question.
Thank you. All right, so our next question, let's see here. We have, this one came from Christy. Isn't there a way to mute everybody in Zoom at the same time? Can you show us how to do that? Christy is my colleague who was frustrated by people talking over each other in Zoom this week. Yes. Yes, you can do that. Mute all, right? Mute all at the bottom of the participants panel if you're the host. You can also, when you set up the meeting, set the default to everyone's muted when they enter the room. What do you think about that, Rushton?
I was just going to say, open up the panelists and go right down to the middle bottom of it where it says mute all, click that bad boy, and you are happy.
Yeah. Yep.
Next question.
Much better than spending 5 minutes telling everyone to stop talking over each other.
Definitely.
Yeah. Another question. So this one came from Melissa. Is there a way if I scan and load a worksheet to make the student be able to type on it? I did share their own copy to each student, just wondering. There's a few really good tools out there for doing this right now. So it depends on how much typing you want to do. And if you're, Melissa doesn't say, but it sounds like from the share their own copy to each student that they're using Google Classroom.
Right.
It doesn't say. Google, when you open a PDF in Google Drive, in many cases, your students can convert that into a Google Doc and then write in there. That can get a little bit funky with the formatting sometimes, but it works. My computer science students do it quite a bit. There are tools like TeacherMade that will let you upload your PDF and then, or your Word doc or your Google Doc. And then on top of that, you have a space for students to write. That's a good one. Wiser.me does the same function. You can create this kind of worksheet that your students can type on. Rushton had an idea too.
That's right. Formative is a tool that you can find at goformative.com. And that's one that allows you to do this kind of thing. A little addition I would add here. First of all, worksheets can be strong tools for educational advancement. They can, but please make sure you are taking a good long look at any given worksheet you give and asking, is this really, really helping the kid, or does it just occupy time? I assume that Melissa has wonderful worksheets. Now, I will add this, by the way, because I too assumed that Melissa's working in Google Classroom because of the copy to each student, right? The grading shell in Classroom forces you to kind of go from one student's piece of work to the next student's piece of work, et cetera. The science teachers at the school where I spend a ton of my time love formative because when you create a thing for them to add answers to and all of this stuff, right? You can look at the particular question's answers as a group without having to like go from student work to student. So you've got like all of the answers just right there. And it's got some quite sophisticated tools for allowing you to say, hey, this one's right, then boom, 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 boom. A whole bunch of them are like this, that works out. And so formative is pretty impressive. I think that the Wiser that Richard mentioned a minute ago and TeacherMade, I don't know much about those two, but I'm sure there is an ever increasing coolness with some of these tools, and hopefully we are using them to truly prompt higher order thinking. Just saying. All right, let's keep going.
All right. Where are we? Where am I on my list? Here we go. Oh, and question from Angela. I need some help. I have created a digital story with Google Slides. I want to make a video of it and read the story aloud. I'm able to do that with Screencastify, but I also want background music. When I make the screencast, it only picks up my audio and not the music. Do you have any suggestions on how to fix this?
I'm there. I'm ready.
Oh, you got it. You're gonna cue it up.
Put me in, coach.
Cue it up. Cue it up there, Rushton.
So yes, when you do Screencastify, everything is going to occur just as you described, but there is a thing that says show more options. So when you bring up matter of fact, I can do it here, right? So when you bring up in Screencastify tools, as you see, it's popping up right now. You don't see anything with microphone. You're like, oh no, it doesn't give me the option. But if you click show more options, system audio is right there, and you can click that, and that should allow it to work just fine. I will admit, I do not know if that is a function of the paid version. I think I pay $20 a year or whatever it is for Screencastify Premium. So there's that.
No, you can get that with any account, Rushton.
Free accounts as well?
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. As you know, I don't pay for a whole lot of things. So you can record your tab audio if you're recording just your browser, or if you're on a Chromebook, I should point out, record tab audio, not system audio.
Mhm.
If you're on a Windows or Mac computer, you'll click system audio.
Got it.
I also would like to point out really quickly, getting back to the copyright issue, if you're uploading this to YouTube, make sure you're not using copyrighted music you don't have the rights to use.
Yep. Or copyrighted or currently posted video.
Right. Yeah.
Which we know about.
Yeah, we've had that. We had that by accident.
We've been there. We've been there. Now, by the way, for those out there who are like, Rushton pays for Screencast-5 Premium. And as Richard has mentioned before, he pays for Screencast-O-Matic, I believe. You paid for that. So if you are kind of in the space of, are there things worth paying for? There certainly are. And you just need to find the right one that fits what you do. And so but for both of us, having a good video is a good thing. And being able to do the extra editing and the different pieces that are allowed by the premium screencasting tools was quite nice.
Yeah.
So speaking of quite nice, man, do I have a good story for you guys. My cool shares have very much veered in the direction of stories and videos. And I kind of like it that way, but for our April 1st episode, I may have something a little different in mind. Just saying. I know Richard's got cool stuff on the way for that as well. I'll let him speak to that later. This cool share is a short video called, and I say short, it's about 14-15 minutes long, I believe, called "A Concerto is a Conversation." And it is about this guy, Chris Bowers. He's an African-American composer, Black composer, right? Who is a younger guy, and the story of how he became a composer and what the circumstances in his family were that was an option and something to think about, very much tied to his grandfather's experience, who is the other person focused on in this video. The back and forth between their lives is off the charts cool, right? And there's this style of filming this video that is especially compelling to me. A lot of it, or at least comparatively, is very much like you see in this screen grab, right? Like it's the face right there, and it is really a beautiful story. I hope that you will watch that and enjoy that and share it with others, because stuff like that's just a whole level of cool, worth having out there. I will get that link in the chat there. It's the Vimeo link that I just added to the chat.
All right, cool.
Let's do another question or two.
All right, let's do it. Let's grab this question. Are you aware of a place or space that our students can post artwork in an online gallery? Our school uses Office 365, not Teams. We don't use Facebook or Twitter. My suggestion would be to use Wakelet or Padlet, one of those two tools, and open it up to collaboration so that students can upload a picture of their artwork, or if it's digital artwork from the get-go, just put their digital artwork right there. Probably you want to turn on, I will say, if you use Padlet, turn on the moderation. I have had some issues in the past with Padlets getting spammed, so definitely turn on the moderation if you're using Padlet and you're making it public for people to see. So, or Wakelet will work as well.
And our friend in Arizona, Peggy George, just added Slidesmania. She thinks Slidesmania has a template for online artwork, which is really cool. The thing that screams into my head, but there may be a strong reason why this is not in Judy's question, is there's like 5 different Google tools that you could do. You could do this kind of thing with, whether it's Slides or Sites or Jamboard. I mean, there's just a lot of cool options on that front. But if you're trying to avoid Google, so maybe you're at a school in China and that's just kind of a difficult position there, right? maybe, you start looking at some of the different tools out there for making websites that are quite easy, right? So the Weebly and things like that might be a good move as well.
Yeah.
Let's get one more question in.
All right. Last question we have here came from Sarah, who asked, do you know a way to embed YouTube videos like into Google Slides or Edpuzzle that you can get rid of the active link back to the YouTube video? I thought I found a great workaround, but it turns out the white YouTube logo on each of these is still an active link. Frustrated and looking for a way. Any suggestions? So I will say this, you are not going to get rid of that legally. Without violating YouTube's terms of service, you are not going to get rid of that, because that is included in the embed code in any YouTube video that is publicly available for sharing. Google does that because that's how they get more and more and more and more and more traffic. So you're not going to get rid of it. You might do something where you make a little image overlay, maybe, but you're not going to get rid of it. That's always going to be there unless you do something that violates YouTube's terms of service, like downloading the YouTube video with one of the sketchy websites that offered, software for downloading YouTube videos. The exception being if the YouTube video is Creative Commons licensed and the creator has enabled the option for downloading the video. That would be the only exception to that rule that I just said. What do you think, Rushton?
So the very first thing that came to mind for me was, why, right? Why prevent the student from going to YouTube to learn more? Now, there are certainly some very good answers to that question. Students get lost in YouTube. I haven't seen this one kid since he went to a YouTube video 3 weeks ago. I mean, all right, fine. But there are a lot of good things that come from examining the context of a YouTube video. Matter of fact, just this morning, I showed students that I have in my Creative Solutions for the Global Good class a video that is over a decade old of a guy like careening, like they set up this crazy water slide, and he goes way, and then it goes whoosh, and he goes flying through the air, some ridiculous, and then he lands in like a kiddie pool. And then like gets up and he's like, ah, and his friends are like, ah, like they just accomplished this huge thing. About 44 seconds long. It's fake, apparently, because if you start reading down the comments, there's a lot of discussion of this was on Mythbusters, it's fake, and blah, 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 blah. And then of course, people start getting into talking about the science of it. And we actually used it not from the standpoint of, is it real or is it fake? But what does it do in terms of capturing attention? And how do you use seemingly disparate ideas with video in order to capture an audience's attention, in order to make a point, as long as you can make a coherent connection to what happened to be in that video with the thing you're about to say. So it was actually a pretty good lesson, or at least seemed so. And I would say that leaving room for kids to kind of do some exploring on this stuff. Who uploaded this video? What other videos have they uploaded, right? Which is a really good thing to know, because maybe you find a really good tutorial video by some Richard Byrne guy and you're like, this guy explains something in a really cool way. Click on his name. If you're in the YouTube page, you click on his name and you get to his account and channels and playlists, and you might find all kinds of things that are useful to you. Wow, that was good advice. No extra cost, just saying. But my answer would have been that you would have to like go the downloader route, which I used to do in Firefox, because Chrome and YouTube and so anyway, but I mean used to, as in like I was like, because I haven't done it in a long time, and I went to look into because there was this like little thing that would appear and I could click that and come down, it would work and it was fine. That thing isn't there anymore, and I'm like, well, maybe they just disappeared for legal reasons, or maybe I don't know. However, when I thought, well, what, is it just a matter of looking these things up? And I look it up, and of course, there's a lot of YouTube downloader options. And just like Richard said, sketchy. Some of them have been downloaded like 4,000 times. Some of them have been downloaded 800,000-900,000 times. So always be careful when you're going that route, because the farther you get from the normal stuff, the more you have to be like, what is this thing installing on my computer, right? So just keep a safe distance if you don't have a pressing need to do so. And if for any reason Sarah writes you back, Richard, and says, this is what I had in mind, we might use that in our April 1st show.
Yeah. And I will say that there are alternatives to using YouTube. If you are really concerned that hosting a video on YouTube is going to take your students down that rabbit hole of places you don't want them to go, there are alternatives to using YouTube. You could use Vimeo, you could use Wistia. Both have paid options where you would remove the backlink. I use Vimeo for my self-paced online courses, and you wouldn't know it unless I just told you that I used Vimeo, because I pay for the option to remove those backlinks and remove all the sharing functions from it. So
our next episode is Thursday, April the 1st, 2 weeks from today. If you think that Richard and I are going to have some fun with it being April 1st, you are thinking right, because we will certainly be looking for added fun related to that particular day. Now, in order to be the person you need to be for your students, make sure you are taking good care of yourself. Plenty of sleep, plenty of exercise, eating right. That you never know when that moment will come where a kid needs you to be really at the very top of your game. And so do that kid a favor and take good care of yourself. Sign up for my newsletter. Every month I'm like, here, this is how you could win a Starbucks card, right? It's going out to thousands of people and stuff, and people are like, oh, I'd never win that. Hardly anybody enters. Do the math. All right. So anyway, so feel free, and then the March issue, lots of good stuff in there. Anyway. Additionally, I hope you'll give nextvista.org a look and see all of the good videos that kids and teachers around the world have contributed. You can check out my blog at rushtonh.com, rushtonh.com. I post multiple times a year. All right. Written some books that might be useful to you. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions about any of that. You can get to them via the slide. You'll get the slide later for having registered for this. And then there is this cool 64-page gig. What is this?
Yeah, this is my Practical EdTech handbook. It's free. Just head to practicaledtech.com/weekly newsletter, or just practicaledtech.com, and you can sign up for my newsletter and you'll get a copy of it. Yeah, 64 pages, my favorite tips, tricks, cool tools, and tutorials. And, I'm pretty proud of I'm proud of all of it, but one of the parts I'm really proud of is the section on search and getting kids to get beyond the first couple pages of Google search. So check that out, please. And if you can't get enough of me, next Tuesday, I'm doing another webinar called 5 Ways to Blend Technology into Outdoor Lessons. Nice. You can find that again at practicaledtech.com. One of my passions is getting kids and adults and anybody else, I guess that would be all humans, outside and doing fun stuff and tying in some technology to it as well. Nice. Well done, sir. And that's what you're going to find if you click on that link. All right. So it looks like that. And so there's lots of good info. There's tip of the week. There's lots of possibilities. All right. There's this. I forgot my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel and you'll find lots of video tutorials there too. Very good. So we do this little shindig every first and third Thursday of the month, except when we don't. National Awkward Moments Day. But I hope that you will join us next time around. Watch for my email, and it'll have a link to get you back to the slides and the recording and the links and all of that stuff. So we hope you will take advantage of that. We appreciate you very much being in the space of willing to share some of your day with us. We hope you've gotten some good things out of our little episode here, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.